Good evening and welcome to the City Council meeting of the City of Lenoir for Tuesday, February the 21st, 2023. We welcome you here with us this evening. We have quite a extensive agenda tonight for several things going on. As we normally do, we will start in just a few minutes with our moment of silence and then remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance. As we go to our time of moment of silence, I would like for you to consider and keep in your prayers and thoughts the Broyhill family, as we lost Senator James Broyhill this past week. Senator Broyhill was a fine citizen of our great county in Lenoir, did so many great things for us, and served, of course, in the Congress and the Senate for many, many years. And we were proud to have him as a citizen of Lenoir. The Broyhill family has done so many things, so we will miss him, but please keep the family in your thoughts and prayers over the next coming week. So we'll keep him in our prayers. Please now join us for a moment of silence and remain standing for our pledge. Thank you. Please salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll have several things that we're going to get started with tonight, some recognitions. As I try to tell our fine employees that have been with us, we've tried to cancel all retirements, but they won't listen to me, so it's not working. So anyway, we have a couple to do tonight. I'm going to ask Lieutenant Mills if he will come up. Sir. Lieutenant Mills is retiring from our police department after many long years. If you read how many years of service he's been with us. And this resolution is in recognition of his dedicated service. Whereas on the 15th of January in the year of 1998, Christopher Todd Mills was appointed as a patrol officer for the City of Lenoir Police Department by Chief Jack Worley. That, as of the date of this resolution, Lieutenant Mills has admirably and with great distinction served the citizens of Lenoir during the tenures of 4 police chiefs. That Chris has formed close relationships with his genuine concern and dedication to duty and has contributed to the success of the department and community with the support of his wife, Crystal. That prior to being hired by the City of Lenoir, Chris served as a detention officer with the Caldwell County Sheriff's Office and correctional officer for the Foothills Correctional Department in Morganton during the years of 1997 to 1998. That, due to his diligent performance of exemplary manner, he was promoted to patrol sergeant in 2003, to support services training coordinator in 2008, to lieutenant in 2009, to patrol overseeing 2 platoons in 2012, and since 2018 has led the department's community resources platoon. That he received his instructor certification in 2001, completed Police Law Institute in 2003, received the Advanced Laws Enforcement Certificate in 2007, completed FBI Regional Command College in 2009, and was voted Officer of the Year by department members in 2015, and completed the FBI Law Enforcement Executive Development Association Trilogy Program in 2019. That Chris has been instrumental in overseeing a number of programs and serving in a multitude of capacities to include department instructor, special response team member, citizens police and K-9 Academy coordinator, K-9 team supervisor, recruitment and retention, ready response team, and crisis incident stress management team. That society and law enforcement has undergone many changes and challenges over the last 25 years, and Chris has stayed abreast through these changes, trends, changing trends to remain an effective leader, role model, and mentor within the department and community at large. That he has played an active, vital role in the community with a number of accolades in his personnel file, showing his willingness to go above and beyond what is expected for the department, city, and community. That Chris has humbly served the citizens of the city of Lenoir and Caldwell County and will be retiring on March 1st, 2023, with over 26 years of credible service in the North Carolina local government retirement system. Therefore, be it resolved by the authority of the mayor and the city manager and on behalf of the city council that Lieutenant Chris Mills has been an exemplary employee and is himself the epitome of professional law enforcement officer. His contributions to the safety and well-being of the citizens of Lenoir and the officers of the Lenoir Police Department will be held in high esteem and in remembrance by his governing body, as well as all persons impacted by his accomplishments, generosity, and compassion for those in need. This is the 21st day of February 2020. Lieutenant, thank you very much. And we also would like to present to Lieutenant Mills this key to the city. The highest thing we can give you and say thank you for all your service to our city. Thank you for protecting us for so many years and being such a great role model for our community. We're very proud to have served with you. Certainly appreciate everything that you've done. And this reads, Lieutenant Chris Mills, we presented to Lieutenant Chris Mills in recognition of 26 plus years of dedicated and outstanding service to the Lenoir Police Department by the Lenoir City Council, February 21st, 2023.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
You know, after the mayor reads the resolution, you hear all the things that these men have done. It's hard to follow up with that. And really their career is a role model for officers. When Chris came to the department, I was his field training officer. So I tell him that I taught him everything he knows. The truth of the matter is I've probably learned more from him than he's ever learned from me. He's been a great employee. He has a heart for training and training the men and women of law enforcement, not just with our department, but other departments across the state. And he's done a great job. And so I just want to thank the manager and council for recognizing him and his service for all the years that he's come in on the good days and the bad days. Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to thank God getting me through this career that I'm in. And second of all, I'd like to thank my wife, Crystal, who stood beside me all the way from the time I started my career to the end. And I'd like to thank all the men and women I work with at the department, all the officers I've trained through my years, and I'd like to thank the City Council. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll do them, and then we'll take some pictures. Okay. Next, we have a special recognition and honor for our retiring fire chief, Chief Kenneth Hare. Chief Hare, we will miss you very much. So you've been a great leader in our community. We've enjoyed working with you. Friendship has been well received. We thank the world of you. We wish you nothing but the best. He told me earlier that when he leaves here, he's going to Disney World this week. Isn't that something? I see that on those football games. But anyway, Chief, we're so honored to have had you serve us for so many years. We had some special recognitions earlier, and we presented him one of these chairs right here. He moved those chairs for so many times that we decided we better give him one just so we can keep it. And because this guy's moved them and moved them and moved them and moved them. And so anyway, and then some other things as well. So this resolution is the City of Lenore honoring Kenneth William Hare. Whereas Ken William Hare began his career as a firefighter with the Lenore Fire Department on October the 8th, 1991, and was promoted to second lieutenant on October the 4th, 2001, lieutenant on October the 3rd, 2002, captain on March 14th, 2005, assistant chief on February the 11th, 2008, deputy chief on April 3rd, 2011, and fire chief on March 1st, 2018. And whereas Ken Hare has announced his retirement effective February 1st, ending 31 plus years of exemplary service to the citizens of Lenore and Caldwell County. And whereas during his tenure of dedicated service, Ken Hare has served with great confidence and has always contributed positively to the professional development of those around him. And whereas during all his endeavors, both in and outside the fire department, Ken Hare has brought honor and respect to himself and the City of Lenore by his actions and by his fair treatment of all persons. Now, therefore, it be resolved that I, as mayor, and on behalf of the Lenore City Council and all citizens, do hereby wish the very best for Ken in his retirement and commend him for the example he has set as a dedicated public servant. And be it further resolved that we extend our sincere appreciation and deep gratitude for his faithful and outstanding service with which has contributed to the betterment of our city. Witness my hand and seal the 21st day of February 2023. Chief, congratulations. And as well, we have the key to the city to be presented, a city that you served for so many years. We are honored to be able to give you this. It doesn't mean near as much as it does to what you have meant to us, but we are so proud that we are able to serve with you as our fire chief and all your career with the City of Lenore. Presented to Fire Chief Ken Hare in recognition of 33 plus years of dedicated and outstanding service to the fire department, Lenore Fire Department, by the Lenore City Council, February 21st, 2023. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you for letting me address you again. Pretty much reiterate what I said at the earlier recognition is what a privilege it has been to me and my family to work for the City of Lenore for the 31 years, and what a true honor it has been to serve as the fire chief for the last 5. Just want to thank the council and city managers now and previous that have given us the staff and the equipment that we need to make the most accomplishment that we could have had, which is no one got killed in the line of duty or seriously injured at my time there, and that's what I was most thankful for, which is another reason why it was great that we done this after I retired, so I can truly say that and not have no time left. But I do want to thank my wife and my family for allowing me to live my dream as a little boy, to be the firefighter that most of us want to be, and I got to do that. And proud to say that I pretty much provided every rank in the fire department except one, and I'm honored of the leadership that we had before me that allowed me to pay my way to get through here. And I do, now that we're here, and Mr. T.J. Rohr may not remember, but my claim to fame is in 2011. He actually voted for a grant that I turned in, and I wanted to say thank you. Everybody didn't know that. I think it was an accident, but T.J. did vote yes on that one because we was all in shock. But that was my only claim to fame. But everything, any accolades that's been given to me, it's about the men and women that serve the fire department now and in the past. We learn everything from them, and we would not be where we're at if it wasn't for the men and women that came before us. So everything that you can attach my name to, they're the ones that did it. I just happened to be sitting in the driver's seat whenever it was going around. But thank you and appreciate it. It's a great city to work for, one of the best that I know of, and couldn't be more blessed to have worked here, and thank you for everything.
And last but not least tonight, I'll bring up the Honorable Kenny Score. Kenny has been our recreation director now for the last 5 years, but has been around recreation here all his life. He grew up here, played Little League ball, Senior League ball, and Lenore High ball, and everything you can think of, Kenny Story was a part of. And he came back here, worked with our recreation department, and then became the recreation director. Has led this program in so many great ways. Kenny, you will be missed. And also he got a chair earlier tonight that he moved those chairs. I guess he probably sees blue chairs in his sleep whenever we've had an event downtown. But he's got one now you can look at all the time, and we were honored for him to have that. But this resolution is honoring Kenneth E. Story. Whereas Kenneth E. Story started his career with the city of Lenore, North Carolina on June 29, 1987, and served in various positions in the Parks and Recreation Department through April the 10th, 1996, including summer playground coordinator, ball field maintenance, aquatics director, assistant center director, and an athletic director. And whereas Kenny Story returned to work for the city's Parks and Recreation Department on October 15, 2007 as an athletic program supervisor and was promoted to assistant recreation director, athletic director in 2011, interim director in 2016, and director in 2017. And whereas Kenny has been very active in the community, including volunteering with Special Olympics, coaching for several recreation leagues, working as a Tar Heel league coach, and whereas during his tenure as Parks and Recreation Director, Kenny Story has overseen the completion of many improvements to the Lenore Parks and Recreation facilities, including improvements to the Lenore Optimus Park, Greenway extensions, improvements to the campus at the historic Lenore High School, new outdoor pickleball courts at Mulberry Recreation Center, the regenerative storm water conveyance at J.E. Broyhill Park, new energy efficient LED lighting at Mulberry Recreation Center, and soon to be Matt Cook Stadium, renovations at T.H. Broyhill Walking Park, including 3 new single unit restrooms and decking boards on the observation deck, and securing grant funding for the improvements to Lenore Aquatic and Fitness Center, including a new splash pad. And whereas during his career, Kenny Story has worked with many community partners to improve recreation opportunities and facilities for residents in Lenore, including Appalachian State University, the Broyhill Family Foundation, Caldwell Community College and Technical Institute, Foothills Performing Arts, and the North Carolina State Agricultural Extension. And whereas Kenny Story has announced his retirement effective March 1st, 2023, ending more than 24 years of exemplary service to the citizens of Lenore and more than 35 years of service in parks and recreation across the state. Now therefore be it resolved that I as mayor and on behalf of the City of Lenore Council and all citizens do hereby wish the very best for Kenny in his retirement and commend him for the example he has set as a dedicated public servant. And be it further resolved that we extend our sincere appreciation and deep gratitude for his faithful and outstanding service which has contributed to the betterment of our city. This is the 21st day, February 2023. Kenny? I'm proud to present you the key to your city, the city that you have represented so very well over these 30-some years that you have been involved in our program and grew up and played in these programs. So this reads, presented to Parks and Recreation Director Kenny Story in recognition of 37+ years of dedicated and outstanding service to the Parks and Recreation Department. Lenore City Council, February 21st, 2023. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, all I can say is it's been a blessed 38 years in recreation. City of Lenore has been good to me. But comes a time I have to walk away. I'm going to miss you guys, miss your council, manager. Thank you for all you've done. Mayor, department heads, the greatest city in North Carolina. We have the best employees, best department heads, best law enforcement department, best fire department. I'll say that truly. And everybody, I know some of you in the audience. I grew up in Lenore. There's no place like Lenore. All I can say, guys, thank you for a blessed time in my life, and the things we've done in recreation, I just want to see them continue to grow, and we have that city. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
TJ, Chief was right. I was here that night.
Lieutenant Mills.
Walk that in the book.
Chief Hare.
Yeah, if you just want to hold your key, that'll be good for you.
You want to get them all together, or?
So we'll do a council and all three, and then we'll do each of you with the council. Is that okay with everybody? Okay. So let's do all three at the beginning. Yeah. Tell me who you can. I can't see. Chrissy, you want to come up?
Yep.
Scott, come up. And Ralph, you're kind of hidden back. There you go.
There you go,
Yeah.
there you go. That should be good. Somewhere.
All right, it's my turn. You can rest your face a second. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. And the same thing. 1, 2, 3. All right, now we'll do Lieutenant Mills, right? And then we'll do y'all two. Do you want these or?
Chief Phelps,
Yeah.
you come in this one? Sure.
I'll go first on this one and then. Okay. All right, y'all look good. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you.
All right. Now, Chief Hare. Congratulations. All right, now we gotta, yeah, there you go. All right, I'll go first this time. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. You miss. All right, one more.
Tell me hello.
All right, last time. All right, ready? One more time, last time. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Win this game. Just win, Kenny.
What we're gonna do, we ain't gonna have a Christmas meeting to go to, 4th of July. 4th of July is gonna happen. Because it was just 4th of July.
You'd think they could share some.
Everybody wants to be their own picture taker.
Apparently.
An email?
All right. Big stuff right there. A lot of experience.
Yeah, walking
A
out.
lot of experience. Door, is that front door open? In here. Thinking because that front door's open. Oh, no, we need to. Cut it out. Cut it down.
Okay, thank you all very much for indulging us those things this evening. We had very special things to take care of. A lot of service there. I think that's 100 and some years of service between those three that we hate to lose, I can tell you that. But we have good people coming in behind them, so we're proud of that. All right, we'll move on then tonight for matters. This is scheduled for public hearing this evening. This is a continued preliminary plat. This is for the Hill Haven Place subdivision. This is a continued, a quasi-judicial public hearing from the January 3rd, 2023 meeting until the city council meeting of Tuesday, February 21st, 2023, as requested by the applicant and adjoining property owners for the preliminary plat for the Hill Haven Place subdivision plat to create 22 lots from 2 vacant tracts, and approval of conditions 1 through 7 is listed below. Planning staff and planning board recommend approval of the proposed major subdivision based on the findings / special standards for major subdivisions on pages 7 through 9 of the attached staff report, and subject to the following conditions on page 9. Note, a quasi-judicial hearing is a hearing where the city council is acting much like a judge or jury in court. Anyway, I'm gonna let city manager, city attorney, DJ Rohr, if you will, please explain the quasi-judicial proceedings for
I'll be
us.
glad to, Mayor. We will be having an evidentiary hearing for major subdivision number 1/22. The applicant has requested approval of its preliminary plat. The property is located at Hill Haven Place, NC Pin 275-934-0506, and 1.52 acres of NC Pin 275-943-3724. The decision will be made by a simple majority vote of the council. This hearing is a quasi-judicial hearing. This means that it is like a court hearing. State law sets specific procedures and rules concerning how the council must make its decision. These rules are different from other types of land use decisions, like rezoning cases. The council's discretion is limited. The Lenoir City Council, in passing the ordinance regarding preliminary plats in June of 2021, has already made the political or legislative decision that an applicant is entitled to approval if it offers evidence tending to show they meet the standards in the ordinance. The board must base its decision upon competent, relevant, material, and substantial evidence in the record. A quasi-judicial decision is not a popularity contest. It is a decision constrained by the standards in the ordinance and based on the facts presented. If you will be speaking as a witness, please focus on the facts and standards, not personal preference or opinion. Participation is limited. This meeting is open to the public. Everyone is welcome to watch. Parties with standing have rights to participate fully. Parties may present evidence, call witnesses, and make legal arguments. Parties are limited to the applicant, the local government, and individuals who can show they will suffer special damage. Other individuals may serve as witnesses if called by the council. General witness testimony is limited to facts, not opinions. For certain topics, this council needs to hear opinion testimony from expert witnesses and expert witnesses only. These topics include projections about impacts on property values and projections about impacts of increased traffic. Individuals providing expert opinion must be qualified as experts and provide the factual evidence upon which they base their expert opinion. If you are not a qualified expert, state law says you cannot offer your opinion, and this council is prohibited from considering that opinion. Witnesses must swear or affirm their testimony. So I think what we'll do is probably, if it's all right, just swear each witness as they come. Sometimes you swear all the witnesses, but we don't know how many witnesses will be called, so we'll just have the clerk swear each witness as they testify. The parties in this case are entitled to an impartial board to hear the issue. A council member may not participate in this hearing if he or she has a fixed opinion about the matter, a financial interest in the outcome of this matter, or a close relationship with an affected person. Does any member of council have any partiality to disclose in this matter? All right. Seeing none, the parties in this case have rights for any ex parte communications to be disclosed. That is, any communication, ex parte communication is any communication about the case outside of the hearing. That may include site visits as well as conversations with parties, staff, or the general public. Do any council members have any site visits to disclose or any conversations or other communications to disclose?
Yes.
Yes.
I believe most of you do, from what I've heard. So I don't know if we want to start with Mr. Greer and go around. If any party or anyone has contacted you on behalf of a party, even if you said, I can't talk to you anymore, do you have any disclosures any of you need to make?
Yeah, I was contacted by Ms. Bush via
Okay.
email,
All right?
but asked the call to be returned, but I did not return the call.
Okay. Anyone else contact you?
No.
Okay.
Same here.
All right.
Well, no.
Okay.
No contact.
An email from Ms. Bush that had the similar response.
Okay.
I had a phone conversation with Ms. Bush and a conversation with Donnie Potter.
Okay.
But both, I did not talk.
Okay, you didn't get any of the specifics about this? Okay.
I had an email from Ms. Bush as well.
Okay.
I had a conversation with Ms. Bush, prior telephone conversation.
Okay, did you get into any of the particulars
We
about
talked
this?
Some, but not in length.
Okay. That may become an issue. You may need to disclose that further depending on how things go.
I got the email and also received a phone call from Mr. Donnie Potter, but I explained that I could not discuss it because it was quasi judicial.
Okay. Based on the disclosures we've heard from the board concerning ex parte communications, does any member of the board or any party to this matter have an objection to any of the board members participating in this hearing? Let's see. I think at this point, Mayor, I'll turn it back over to you for, I guess, beginning with the staff presentation, being under oath. And then, of course, I'm available for any questions you may have or the board may have. One thing to remember is, because this is quasi-judicial, after each witness testifies, you as each individual board member may ask questions of any witness. And then, again, the opposing party may ask. I believe there may be some people here who oppose that. Anyone opposing it has to establish special standing. Technically, proximity alone isn't enough. There has to be more than that. There's cases that say just having your property next door to it isn't enough. But that's an issue that you as a council may consider in that regard. But like I say, it is similar to a court hearing where person testifies, the board gets to ask questions, individual members of the council, and then anyone opposing it can essentially do a cross-examination establishing other issues. The rules of evidence don't specifically apply, except, like I say, state law has specifically said that expert opinion is needed for things related to traffic, property values, and things similar to that. There are other areas that expert opinion is required, rather than just the opinion of a layperson saying that property values would go down or go up, or traffic would be affected, or anything like that.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions of Mr. Rohr before we? Okay, I'm going to read the conditions that were presented. We have 7 conditions that are part of this quasi-judicial hearing. The developer shall pay into the sidewalk fund in lieu of sidewalk construction. The payment shall be calculated for the footage of Hill Haven Place by the price of concrete for a 5-foot sidewalk. The sidewalk fund payment is due prior to the approval of the final plat. Number 2 is a stormwater permit for a low-density development is required prior to approval of the final plat. Notes on the face of the final plat, including limitations on built upon area, will be required. 3, North Carolina DOT, NCDOT must review and approve the existing connection of US 321 and Hill Haven Place due to the addition of residential density. Any geometric improvements to the connection must be completed prior to the approval of the final plat. Item 4 is a cul-de-sac or TYL alternative turnaround must be installed at the end of Hill Haven Place prior to starting construction on the turnaround. Civil plans demonstrating compliance with the standards in Chapter 18, that's of streets and sidewalks, must be provided to Public Works for review and approval. Number 5 is a 40-foot wide public right-of-way must be extended to the southern property line where the city-maintained fork off Hill Haven Place currently extends to serve the house at 120 Hill Haven Place. A stub out must be constructed to the property line within this right-of-way in order to facilitate future extension connection to serve future residential subdivision. Number 6, while current water and sewer infrastructure is sufficient to handle 22 additional homes in the location, the existing fire hydrants are not sufficient to service structures larger than 1,870 square feet. Either the water service can be upgraded to increase capacity of hydrants, or deed restrictions must be recorded that limit overall square footage of individual houses to 1,870 square feet, and or require houses larger than 1,870 square feet to have sprinklers and fire suppression systems. And number 7 is a grading plan must be submitted prior to approval of any building permits on lots 18 through 21. Placement of homes on steep lots may negatively impact the city's ability to effectively fight house fires on these properties. Residential sprinklers and fire suppression systems are strongly encouraged for future development of the aforementioned lots. Those are the conditions that were presented. I will now recognize our Director of Planning, Hannah Williams, for comments. She has to be sworn in. Yes. She has to be sworn in, yes. When we get a Bible.
On the phone.
Put your hands on me.
Get him up there. Swear. Put it here. Put your hand on his head.
No, you will not do this time.
If we don't have one, she can affirm.
We'll look back real quick and see.
Yeah, that's fine.
I thought we had one out here all the time. Usually there's one here.
I'm embarrassed.
You got one in your car now.
I got one in the car.
We may just have to do that.
She doesn't have one for affirming.
I am too.
There she goes. Okay, great.
Here we go.
Most of the time.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rohr, and thank you, council. All right. This major subdivision requests to create 22 lots from 2 vacant tracts on Hillhaven Place. One of the tracts is owned by PB Realty, one is owned by Broyhill Timber Resources. PB Realty tract is just over 29 acres, or just under 29 acres, and the Broyhill Timber tract is about 1.5 acres. So this is 22 residential home sites across 30 acres. The applicants are Guy Long of Piedmont Companies and Will Clayton of Clayton Engineering, who are here in the audience tonight. Piedmont currently has the land under contract. So the applicant proposing to create these 22 lots in the R15 zoning district. It's currently zoned R15. All of these lots meet or exceed standards of R15. So Hillhaven Place is a city-maintained road. It has been since it was built. There's water and sewer utilities located in the city's right-of-way here. And these utilities are available to 22 new residential home sites on this road. Currently, it serves 2 residences off the road. So this case is before you tonight because Lenore's subdivision ordinance requires that divisions of land that create 10 or more lots be treated as a major subdivision. So it gets the TRC review, the technical review committee review, planning board review, and it's ultimately your decision. And it's a quasi-judicial decision. So planning staff has analyzed the plat and kind of treated our analysis as similar to a special use permit. So we have findings of fact on how this meets the ordinance, as well as adding conditions, which are on pages 7 through 9 of the staff report. I'd also like to submit the Hill Haven staff report for the public record. So first, this preliminary plat was reviewed by Lenore's Technical Review Committee, which is an internal group of city staff from fire, police, public utilities, public works, and planning for their recommendations. Their recommendations are summarized in the report, and then those kind of become distilled into the conditions that the mayor read prior to my testimony. So then once it passed technical review committee, it goes to the Lenore Planning Board. And the planning board met on November 28th, right after Thanksgiving 2022. And they heard from staff, the applicants, and the neighbors before making their recommendation. They recommended to approve the subdivision by a vote of 4-1. So one reason why we generally scrutinize these major subdivisions is that the infrastructure that gets installed eventually becomes the city's responsibility to maintain. So far there are 2 infrastructure changes that are proposed through this subdivision process. One is to have a proper turnaround at the dead end on the northern end of Hill Haven Place, and the other is to widen the right-of-way and pave the southern fork. So the proper turnaround at the top of Hill Haven, that can either be a cul-de-sac or a TYL alternative treatment, and that's basically to get garbage trucks and emergency response trucks to be able to turn around safely up there. And then there's a southern fork to this property between lots 3 and 120 Hill Haven Place, Barbara Bush's property, and that would be to kind of prepare for a continuation of the street were development to come to the adjoining parcel below. Currently, there's no plan for development on that southern parcel. Nothing has come up from my department, but there is, I believe it might be on the market or planning to be on the market, and then there's other interest in that whole area north of McLean Drive. Late last summer, for example, we approved a conditional zoning ordinance for a residential neighborhood. I am open to your guidance on how you want to proceed with this. I can kind of go through each condition one by one, or we can kind of start to have the Q&A session where if you have a particular question, I'm prepared to answer it. So, one by
Since
one.
she's offered the report into evidence, unless you want to have her go through each one about why she reached each one, I think it'd be appropriate to simply, if you have any questions, go ahead and address those to her. And then either the applicant can ask questions, and then anyone withstanding who opposes it would be able to direct questions to her. So I think that would be the appropriate way to proceed.
Okay, sounds fine. Any questions, anybody on the council at this point? Okay. All right, then we open it up to,
I guess the applicant
The
first,
applicant
and then
first.
anyone who's opposing it.
If I may, Wesley Deaton for the applicant, I'd like one
you need to be sworn in, please.
Are you an attorney for the applicant, or are you? Okay. Okay, he doesn't need to be sworn in. Then if he's going to be asking questions, he doesn't need to be sworn.
Okay.
Ms. Williams, can I ask you one question?
Sure.
It's just.
Do you want to come up to the
Please
podium
come up and
so
do it
for
here.
recording?
Yeah,
We're
that
on-
way,
we're
yeah, it's
on,
being
uh,
recorded, and obviously if this goes any further, there'll need to be a record of all of this.
That'd be good. Ms. Williams, you had testified that you had helped prepare the information packet for the city council. And if you don't mind answering audibly.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're familiar with the contents of the application package?
Yes, I am.
And do you incorporate anything that's in there that you've not specifically testified to? Do you incorporate that into your testimony here?
Can you repeat that?
Sorry, I
Yeah,
said
it's
that
okay.
long. If there's anything in the application package that you submitted but didn't testify to, do you incorporate that into your testimony?
Yes, I submitted the staff report for the public record.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Any more questions?
No more questions.
Okay,
Does any,
thank you. Anyone, are you going to, you got some other,
I'm for the applicant. I didn't mean to, I
Yeah.
was going to be here ready for y'all. But
yeah, I think if there are any questions from anyone who's opposing the application, now might be the appropriate time for them to ask Ms. Williams some questions. Anyone? Okay.
go ahead, no questions, okay, go ahead. You have to be sworn in, sir.
Now, if he's going to be asking questions as a party, he would need to establish standing. I don't know who he is or what his relation is to the property.
I'm Richard Farragut. I'm one of the landowners, adjoining landowners, Barbara Bush's husband.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So is your name on the deed to the property from Ms. Bush's property?
No.
Okay. You have an interest in the property, so I think it would be appropriate for him to ask Ms. Williams questions if he has any.
I just have one simple question.
Okay.
I'm going to be sworn in first.
You swear to tell the truth.
Finish your audit before they got married.
Okay, I just have one question for Hannah. The minutes of the planning commission meeting that we held, I note on the final notes here that both Ms. Bush and myself, as well as a letter from Mr. Strom, are mentioned, but are the contents of those letters that we submitted to the planning commission available to council? Were those minutes, I mean, we read those, so they would have been part of the minutes of the planning commission meeting, but were they ever made aware?
I do not believe the minutes themselves would be evidence before this body. You're allowed to, as long as you establish the evidence requirements, you can testify about even the same things you may have said before the planning board, but the minutes themselves, I do not believe would be admissible. It needs to be evidence that's presented here in the form of her report or anything you may have. Letters from property owners would not be admissible. That's hearsay. Now, if property owners are here, can establish standing, and can offer the relevant material evidence that's necessary, then they could testify. But just bringing in the minutes from the planning board or letters that were submitted, I don't think would be appropriate.
Okay, so if I state that I feel this is a very minor shortening of what was done at the meeting, it doesn't matter, right?
Well,
You're just saying that this
just
one-
saying you feel it is an opinion, which you're not allowed to express. But again, you will have an opportunity to offer potential fact evidence at the appropriate time. If your question is whether the minutes from the planning board meeting would be allowed, I would recommend that they not be allowed into the record.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else that, from the applicant that would like to address the?
Good evening, council. My name's Wesley Deaton. I'm an attorney in Lincoln County, and I represent Piedmont Companies, Inc., which is the applicant. I'm going to be very brief. My client's here to apply pursuant to 19-65 of the Lenore Code of Ordinances for approval of a plat. Something I want to emphasize is that what's being requested is not a change in use. It's not a rezoning. It's not a special use permit request. It's simply requesting the plat of subdivision of 22 lots for an existing use. This is a quasi-judicial case. I contend that my client's going to meet the elements of 19-65, and the testimony of Ms. Williams already has stated a prima facie case for meeting those elements. We're going to present evidence with our engineer and also Mr. Long. I hope this doesn't have to happen, but I did want to prepare the council. It is my obligation on behalf of my client, given this quasi-judicial matter, that if evidence is inappropriately attempted to be entered, I may have to object, which that's a little unusual for councils to hear. I want to apologize in advance. I don't intend to be obstructive, but I have to protect my client's rights, or else they're waived. We'll prove the elements of 19-65, and you will hear that the conditions proposed by Ms. Williams have been accepted. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Counsel, I would consider that sort of in the nature of an opening statement by the applicant. I think it would be appropriate if any party who opposes the application has a similar opening statement as sort of a forecast of their evidence. If someone would like to speak to that, I think they'd be welcome to it this time before
Okay.
the applicant presents their evidence.
That'd be fine. And Mr. Respis doesn't have to be
No, just
sworn.
like,
Yeah,
what was your name, sir? Wesley Deacon. He didn't have to be sworn either.
Okay.
If it's just in the nature of an opening statement by
but
a
just
representative.
so the record, so we'll have that your name for the clerk, if you don't
I
mind.
will. I'm Wallace Respis. I'm a practicing attorney here in Lenore with an office about a block from here.
Yes, sir.
I represent Barbara Bush and Dick Farragudo. Barbara and her husband have entered into an agreement with David Gray, who is Precision Contracting and a professional engineer. David has made a very detailed study and issued a report, and at the appropriate time, I'd like to call him as a witness and have you consider his remarks and his report.
Okay. You want to do it now?
Yeah, well, no, I think at this point, I think it would be the applicant's opportunity to present evidence. And then, again, there would be the opportunity for the board to ask questions, cross-examination potentially from Mr. Respis. The applicant would present their witnesses for your consideration. Once the applicant's done, then Ms. Bush and anyone else who establishes standing as a party would have an opportunity to offer their own evidence in the same similar process.
Okay. Who's next?
I think the applicant now.
There we go.
Do you swear to tell the truth?
Now you see the difficulty.
Good evening. My name is Will Clayton, principal and owner of Clayton Engineering in Hickory. My address is 2080 Singer Drive, Hickory, North Carolina.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time tonight. Again, like stated already, this is a development by right. We're not asking for rezoning. We've met with planning, and we agree to the conditions as set forth, and I just kind of want to go through those conditions again. The developer will pay the fee in lieu of for the sidewalk. We agree to that. The stormwater permit for a low-density development will be required before final CO. We will do that. We will go through the WPCOG and get that low-density stormwater permit. NCDOT must review and approve the existing connection to 321. We've spoken to NCDOT, and a driveway permit will be required for this street. It's our understanding that a driveway permit was not acquired when the street was first constructed. So that will be presented to DOT for their permit and review, and we'll make any improvements required by DOT. The cul-de-sac or TYL at the end of the road, we do agree to do that. We will be installing a cul-de-sac at the end that will be adequate for fire apparatus and emergency vehicles to make that move. A 40-foot wide public right-of-way must be extended to the southern property line. Again, we agree to this condition. That right-of-way will be extended, and that road will be paved to the property line for future development to the south. Number 6, current water and sewer infrastructure is sufficient to handle 22 additional homes, although the fire hydrants are not sufficient to service structures larger than 1,870 square feet. We agreed to put a deed restriction that any houses will be 1,870 square feet or smaller, or anything larger will have fire protection or sprinkler systems installed. And number 7, again, grading plan must be submitted prior to approval of any building permits on lots 18 through 21. Again, we agree to do that as a deed restriction that any houses built on those lots will require a grading plan be approved by the city of Lenore. I appreciate your time. Again, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Okay. Any questions? Anyone? Thank you.
I have one question.
Yeah, go ahead, Ed.
The number 6, about the limitation of the square footage of the homes. Were there other options?
There were other options. We could, one option was to improve the existing system. That would have taken it's not fact. We don't know. Studies weren't done, so I don't know how much I can present on that.
Yeah, if there's someone here that can offer, I mean, I think you can perhaps discuss the financial implications of
Okay.
doing that, about why you chose it. But in terms of the basis for that, I don't think you can really go into that unless there's someone here that can testify about that.
But there were two options to connect other areas to loop the system. It was financially, didn't work out that way. So the best thing was just to meet the fire marshal's requirements to stay under that square footage for protection, instead of trying to improve the system.
And was there a third option?
I think there were just two, either improve the existing system or keep the houses below that square footage, or the fire sprinkler system in the house.
So basically, it seems like there would be there's two options for potential lot owners. They could either keep it under 1870 or install a fire suppression system
Exactly.
above 1870.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Does anyone, do you have any questions, sir?
Mr. Blake, could you just testify to the elements and how the proposed application of the project meets all the elements of the requirements?
Yeah, so this application meets all the lot size requirements and development requirements as put forth by the city of Lenore. So we meet all planning and zoning requirements.
Okay.
And ultimately, though, at least as to the I think it's the 7 factors that are, I guess it's 8 factors that are spelled out in section 19-65. Those ultimately are the ones you're going to determine whether this preliminary plat does meet those requirements. Lot design and layout, suitability of land, and they're spelled out appropriately by the staff on pages 7 through 9. Orderly development, coordination and continuation of streets, topography, access management, pedestrian connectivity, and adequate public facilities. That's what this board is here to make a determination about, whether the preliminary plat meets those requirements.
Yes, and we reviewed those and agree with the findings.
Mr. Blake, did you take part in the applicant's application, preparing it?
Yes.
And you incorporate all of the information contained in that application into your test?
Yes.
Mr. Respis, do you have any questions?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, does anyone else would like to address?
I'm Guy Long. I represent Piedmont Companies applicants.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so
I just want to make a short comment, just reiterating what Will and Wesley had mentioned, is that we just tried in every way to meet all the rules of the city. We went through the zoning process. We looked at other options for any option you gave us in terms of the sprinkler systems and the size of the homes, and we worked hard to make sure we met all the guidelines of the R15 zoning, and we feel that we have done that. So that's my main comment, just reiterating what you've already heard from the experts.
Thank you. Any questions of Mr. Long?
Any questions, sir?
Any?
Mr. Deacon, is it Deacon or Deaton? Deaton. Deaton. Any questions, Mr. Respis?
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to address from the?
There's no one else for the applicant.
Okay, thank you. Anyone from Mr. Respis? Are you going to question him, Mr. Respis? If you would, come up with him, if you don't mind. Thank you.
you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth,
State your name for the court, sir.
David Gray.
And what is your educational background?
Civil engineering degree from NC State. May I also at this time say that my PE license was from 1986 to somewhere around '03. Since '03, I have not had a current PE license. During that same time, I've had a unlimited license general construction license for over 40 years.
And do you own a company known as Precision Contracting Company?
I do.
And were you retained by Barbara Bush and her husband to examine the property on Hillhaven and to write a report?
I was.
And what did you do?
I went to the site, reviewed each of the parcels. I obtained a copy of the planning board report, everything that's been listed up there. I reviewed that and prepared a report of my findings.
Okay. What were your findings upon examining the property?
I thought the planning board did an excellent job of going through all this middle. The plot plan was well done. All the department heads did a good job of putting their notes in there. The 7 conditions I thought were very good ones. I did see that due to some very unique characteristics of this piece of property, I recommended that there be 2 other conditions added to the approval.
And what are those conditions?
The first one was that this property has such a unique environmental impact possibility that each lot needs to have an engineered site plan developed just for that lot before a building permit was issued.
Okay. Would you explain to the council what that is that you just suggested?
Sure. Before a home is constructed on that lot, when they go through the permitting process to get a building permit, that package of documents to be presented for the permit would include an engineered site plan that covered stormwater discharge and sedimentation control measures that would be unique to that lot and be placed on that lot during the construction process.
Do you recommend to the council the involvement of the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality?
I do, and that's somewhat covered by one of the conditions.
Wait. Go ahead. You have an objection?
I do have an objection. He's not, Mr. Gray is not an engineer. Testifying as the engineer to make recommendations of engineering reports that need to be done. And I don't think that would be relevant given his own testimony of his experience.
He's testified that he is an engineer. He just hasn't kept his license renewed. So I believe he's qualified with 40-plus years of experience, particularly in this area. So I ask that you allow him to testify.
I would recommend that the issue about him not currently having a license would go to the weight that you would consider his testimony to give, rather than actually whether it's admissible or not. So I would recommend that you allow him to testify. But you can, again, draw whatever conclusions you have from the fact that he's not currently an engineer and take that into account in determining the believability of his testimony and how convincing it is to you. That would be my recommendation.
Mr. Ray, you've mentioned that this property is unique.
Wait a minute, we got
Do you have a specific ruling? Do you rule that he may continue to testify?
counsel.
I think I'm
Yes.
gonna continue to testify.
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
So essentially, the objection would be overruled, correct?
That's right.
My question to you was, you described this as unique property. Can you tell us why you believe it's unique?
Sure. May I reference my report?
Absolutely.
Going through the topography and the location and the boundaries, the first thing I found that was pretty unique was that 100% of this property has direct discharge onto the surrounding property. There's zero self-containment of runoff on this property. That's unique in the city of Lenore. Secondly, the majority of the runoff of this property goes directly into an existing waterway, the Laurel Creek Water Basin. For runoff to go directly into a waterway that actually is part of the boundary on the property is also pretty unique. The planning board report also noted that this property has a lot of elevation change that creates steep topography and steep contours. They noted that there was over 100 feet of elevation change on this property. Very accurate statement. The overall elevation change is 140 feet. That's from the Lower Creek Basin to the top lot of 1,215 foot elevation. 140 feet of elevation change on a piece of property of approximately 18 acres means it's very steep. Most of you've probably seen this property. So the runoff coefficient is going to be pretty high, so the discharge off this property is pretty critical. That's a very unique thing to this location. If you look at the documents you have from the planning board and the maps that they produced, there is a flood boundary that is actually part of this property boundary. So that's pretty unique that a property you're going to develop actually abuts to a flood boundary. 38% of the overall perimeter of this property is actually abutting the Lower Creek flood boundary. That means the water goes straight into Lower Creek. That's pretty unique. Also, if you look at this piece of property, some of the property that's being developed is already designated as a special flood hazard zone. So that's also pretty unique.
What is the importance of being part of the flood hazard zone?
You're right beside the waterway. And so water goes into that, it's going to be directly impacting the actual place where the water flows in the waterway. That's more severe than if it goes out on the golf course and it stands and kind of mitigates and goes into the ground, before, soaks into the ground, and it is absorbed before it gets into the waterway. So this piece of property, a lot of the discharge off of lots 17 through 21 go directly straight into the Lower Creek waterway.
All right. Thank you. Please continue.
And let's see. The other note was that the planning board did a good job of noting the site grading requirements for each of the lots. They listed it as minimal, and I know this is somewhat subjective, but I looked at each of the lots just to see how much grading would have to occur on each individual lot. 9 of the 16 lots on the front when you come in that are on the area that have more accessible topography, not as steep. 9 of those had an elevation change of over 12 feet in the width of the lots. These lots are very narrow and long. So if you've got a grade and change about 12 feet to get a flat spot for a house, that's what I would consider more than minimal grading. And then, of course, as noted in the report, lots 17 through 21 are on the back side, and it's very steep and very severe there. But the report and the planning board recommendation acknowledged that and noted that each of those lots needed a site grading plan. But again, as I told Mr. Respis, a grading plan certainly is necessary and was part of the condition. I just recommend that all those plans be engineer plans done by an engineer that's part of the submittal process for the building permit. That was the first recommendation. May I give the second?
Please.
Second is, in Caldwell County, erosion control and sediment control regulations are enforced by the Caldwell County Building Inspections Department. That department, like most regulatory agencies in North Carolina, is short-staffed. It's difficult to get to what they're doing. They have to focus on their building inspections first. So quite frankly, they just don't have the ability to really monitor erosion control measures after they've been put in to see if they've been properly maintained and monitored. The planning board occasionally does that, and at one time had an erosion control officer, but I don't think we do now. But I would suggest, given the magnitude of potential environmental problems that can come from this property, directly since it's already on Lower Creek Waterway, which we have problems with already, we need to employ a third-party testing agency that is charged to go to each of these lots during the construction process on a monthly basis, check the erosion control measures, be sure that they're being properly monitored and maintained, and we don't have problems with them failing, and then a hard rainstorm, then we have runoff from the properties.
Mr. Gray, do you have a recommendation to the council as to who would perform that?
No, there's 3 companies in Hickory that do it. There's a number of agencies in this area that perform that service.
Would you suggest to the council to require the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality storm control and erosion control permit?
I'll be honest with you, I didn't review that, Wally, and that's a condition that was put on there about the stormwater permit and the low density permit, and when the wheel gets out, I'm not sure how that'll be handled. So I really don't, I can't give you a good answer to that.
Okay. Do you have any other recommendations?
No.
Mr. Gray has prepared a report. We have several copies, which I would encourage the council to consider. May I submit those?
Is, Mr. Gray, do you adopt that report as your own?
Yes,
And would you ask that the council review it?
please.
I'll object, just given that it's not been provided advance ahead of time. I would ask that I be, assuming that objection is overruled, I be provided a copy.
Yeah. Mr. Respis, can you provide a copy?
I think so. We'll see how many we have there.
Yeah.
I think there's 8, and you can share.
Yeah, Mr. Deaton definitely needs to have a copy so that he can potentially ask questions about it.
Take him one down.
And, yeah, we'll need to give him time to review that.
Seven now.
Maybe that was-
I can share.
Okay, great. Here you go.
We'll share.
Thanks, sir, Mr. Ward.
If you want to give one to me, I'd be glad to take one.
some stuff. Oh, that's right here.
Here's another one.
I think.
Does everybody have one?
Does anyone want one
Give
for
one.
themselves? There's an extra one if you want to look at it on your own.
Thank you.
I was talking about DC requirements. Yes. That's what I was asking you about. At the end of your report, do you suggest 2 requirements prior to approval?
Yes.
And what are those?
Number 1, that each lot be required to have an engineered site plan prepared, and that plan be part of the permitting process for approval. And then number 2, that the condition of maintaining and monitoring the erosion control measures on each lot be performed by a third-party agency that reports to the Caldwell County Building Inspections Department.
Okay. Anything further?
Yes, sir.
Your witness.
First, we ought to see if the board has any questions. I assume the board probably still needs to, the council needs to review the report before asking any questions. I mean, if you're ready to go, that's fine, but I thought you might need a little time.
I have a question. Mr. Gray, your concern for the drainage is not just during the construction phase of the property, but for proper drainage, permanent drainage from that lot?
That's correct.
So it does not affect, not so much the draining into the floodplain or whatever, as you mentioned, but so it does not affect drainage to the adjacent lot?
That's correct.
That's what-
An engineered site plan would address that. And it would address the runoff created by the impervious surfaces of the construction.
Right. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Gray, when a lot is typically graded anywhere, does the person doing the grading typically consider how their grading is going to affect the runoff?
They do, but again, the advantage of that engineer plan in advance, the engineer has the location of the house, puts it on that property, and then evaluates the grading requirements, designs the erosion control measures. Then the contractor and the grading contractor have a defined plan to implement before they go in. So that the erosion control measures are put in first, then the grading and the house is constructed, and then if the measures have to stay permanently, they do. If not, they're removed.
Okay, then I have a follow-up question for
Go ahead.
staff. So when a grading plan is submitted, which is part of the conditions of this particular hearing for this property, on number, I don't remember what number it was. I think it's number 2. On number 2, where it asks that a grading plan be submitted for approval before construction begins on a lot, would our staff consider that storm drainage from not only the construction, but also once the construction is completed as part of reviewing that grading plan?
Oh, excuse me. So you're asking, would staff review an individual civil site plan for each lot?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can look at that to see how much earth is being moved. That's also something that stormwater, which we contract through the Western Piedmont Council of Governments, can do as well. And if sediment and erosion control is required, they will be looking at it as a whole, but they can also do site by site.
So essentially, what he's asking for as a stipulation, we would be doing because we are looking at a grading plan before grading begins. We would do what he's asking as part of the normal process that we typically do for any piece of property. We look, if we're going to look at that grading plan, we're taking into consideration the drainage that occurs during construction and after.
We normally would not require a grading site plan lot by lot. We would not. As presented, as the conditions are presented, the stormwater permit and that would be required. And then an overall grading plan for certain lots, the steepest lots, is currently required. Just to consider runoff as well as the ability of that, wherever that driveway is placed for emergency response. But it wouldn't be required. It's not normally required in the R15 zoning district, and it wouldn't be required unless you all made that a condition tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Or whenever you make your decision.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Do you have a rough idea of what a plan like that would cost to develop?
Each lot, probably $3,000 at the most, the drawing, and then it just needs to be monitored on a monthly basis by the third party. So, that might cost $1,000 a month during the construction, and that would be about per month. So if the house construction was 8 months, about $8,000 for the monitoring and maybe $3,000 for the drawing.
So you say 10 to 15,000 would be a good estimate?
Per lot, yes.
Anything further? Any questions, sir?
Any questions, sir?
I may just try to get, so Mr. Gray can talk comfortable without having to crank it. Now, you said you had done, you had examined the property. Did you examine the property by walking the property?
I did.
Did you have the permission of the landowner to walk the property?
I did not.
And did you check the GIS maps for the property?
I did.
And you testified that you previously had an engineer's license. Is that for hydrological engineering?
Civil.
Civil engineering?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you have a chance to witness any water runoff when you were there?
No, sir.
Okay. For the benefit of the council, you had testified about part of the property being in a 100-year flood zone. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And a 100-year flood zone means there's a 1 in 100 chance of, in any given year of that particular property flooding. Or in other words, a chance of flooding once in 100 years. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And is it also correct that under both county and state building codes already in place, nobody can build in a 100-year flood zone?
Right now, I can't remember that regulation. I'm sorry, I have to say I'm not sure about that one.
Okay. And based on your contractor experience, you understand that North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality already requires that disturbance over an acre must be permitted. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And based on your experience as a contractor, to the extent there are already state laws and state codes that kind of specify land disturbing activities, those have to be followed regardless of what the county decides to do.
That's correct.
Okay. You've reviewed the plans. Did you see any plans that show the building envelope for any of the properties going into the flood zone?
No.
And your contract work, I assume, is partly within Caldwell County, or state code, Caldwell County?
Partly, yes.
Partly. It's your understanding that the Department of Environmental Quality with the state handles erosion control with Caldwell County, on behalf of Caldwell County already?
Yes.
I don't have any further questions.
I don't have any further questions at this
May I
point.
add a comment?
Yes.
I forgot in my report, and it was already noted, that the data requirements are that those engineer plans be prepared when it doesn't even require an engineer plan, but those erosion control sedimentation plans be prepared and submitted if the disturbance is more than 1 acre. The majority of these lots will not have a disturbance of more than 1 acre. That's another reason for the stipulation that they all have it regardless of how much area is disturbed.
Okay.
Can you explain that?
I'm sorry.
I was reading your expressions.
Apologize. And that's noted, maybe in there, but the NEPA regulations are, if you're disturbing more than 1 acre, you have to prepare an erosion control plan that shows how you're going to control the runoff.
Prepared by an engineer.
I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you, I can't remember. I've not looked at those data regs in a while, but my point of that is whether you disturb on this location more than 1 acre or less than 1 acre, I would just recommending that each lot have a engineer site plan, just to cover the uniqueness of this lot and the severity of the potential environmental impact it's got into the Little Creek Basin.
Anything further?
If it's not done by an engineer, are you saying that a contractor would have to try to figure that out, or what?
That's correct.
So you're suggesting an engineer should prepare?
That's correct.
I have a question.
Okay.
So if it's over an acre of disturbance, you're saying there has to be an engineering plan for that erosion?
I don't think it has to be an engineered plan on a residential project.
Okay.
I'm not sure about that. I
Okay.
can't remember.
So, the footprint of an 1,870 square foot home, how much acreage would that be?
Well, an acre is 42,000 square feet, so it's a
So-
lot less than that.
So-
Less than 1 acre.
So,
These lots are just 15,000 square feet.
so,
Some of them, so.
so the footprint of a home that's 1,870 square feet, if it was just 1 story, that's a very small percentage of 1 acre
Correct.
in regards to that particular requirement.
Correct. And as a result, so many of these lots will have disturbance of less than 1 acre, so there's not even an erosion control plan required to be submitted. That's one of the things I'm saying is, add the condition that they all have to have it, regardless of whether they disturb 1/10 of an acre or more than 1.
Okay. Further questions?
Do you have any questions, Mr. Deaton? Oh,
I have a question for the applicant. The conditions that are set forth to be met, will some of the concerns that have been brought, will they be addressed along the way? The conditions that are outlined here for the applicant, as over time, with some of the concerns that are addressed here, will they be addressed within meeting those conditions?
if I might suggest for the orderly presentation of the evidence, I think it's appropriate for him to address that, but we might want to wait until we're done with Mr. Gray.
That could be
Mr.
either
Deaton,
one
you-
of them.
Yeah, yeah.
I agree with that. That works.
Okay,
We'll
so-
just wait till y'all done and answer any follow-up questions.
Okay, so I guess we're done with Mr. Gray then?
Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Gray?
So I guess this would be in the nature of rebuttal testimony, essentially from the applicant, if the gentleman wants to come up and testify as to the issues that Mayor Pro Tem Thomas has raised.
You'd like us to do it now rather than at the end of all the opponent's evidence?
Oh, do you have more evidence?
I do have more evidence.
Oh, okay, yeah, there may be, okay, sorry, I misunderstood that, yeah.
We'll address that then after.
Yeah.
Curtis Gaines. State your name for the council, sir.
Curtis Gaines.
Mr. Gaines, how are you employed?
I'm the president of Western Carolina Surveyors.
And have you been engaged to examine the property at Hillhaven?
I have done 2 recombination surveys for Miss Bush.
And what is that?
She has purchased additional property from PB Realty.
Okay. And what can you tell us here today regarding this proposed development?
I can tell you that it does abide by all of the city specs for the zoning, the lot size requirements. This is going to be tricky for me to answer because my profession is based on opinion. I don't know how you want to approach that.
Did you visit the site?
I have visited the site numerous times.
And have you examined these lots that are proposed for development?
I have observed them based on GIS information, something that I can pick up by not actually being on site.
But you have been on site?
I have been on the site, yes, sir.
Did your visit there, as well as your interaction with GIS, cause you concerns about this development?
I will agree, in my profession, I can design hydrology in a subdivision that I'm surveying. So it is a unique piece of property. It does have direct effects on, I think, adjacent properties as far as the hydrology standpoint. But that is not my profession as far as like these guys, professional engineers. That's what they do for a
Did you
living.
have concern of runoff?
I'm going to object to that, given on his own testimony as to how he's kind of limited to what he can testify to.
I can design drainage in a subdivision that I design. I have, it is part of my state spec test, board test.
And again, based upon your qualifications.
If we could hear a little bit more, Mr. Respis, about his qualifications, I might
Tell us
recommend.
about your qualifications.
I graduated 2-year degree, Asheville Buncombe Technical College with a surveying degree. I done a 7-year apprenticeship with Kenneth Suttles in Morganton. Got licensed in 2009, surveying license, and basically worked for myself in the community since probably 2012.
And you now own a surveying company?
I own 2 surveying companies, yes, sir.
Okay. And as part of your training, were you trained in hydrology?
Yes, sir.
That is water runoff?
Water runoff and soils.
Okay. With your examination of the sites at Hillhaven, did you have concern regarding water runoff?
I had concern keeping the water on the lots. Yes, sir.
Why is that?
Due to the topography, and I have some GIS information here that anybody can pull, but the lots are basically the knoll of the hill. I feel it's going to directly affect the water basin and any maybe adjoining floodway properties.
Those are my questions.
Does the board have any questions?
Any questions, anyone?
Yes, so when you say as a surveyor, you can design the.
I can design the
infrastructure
infrastructure
of a subdivision.
of a
that you lay
subdivision
out.
I'm designing.
You can design the hydrology that meets the state requirements.
Yes, sir.
And all that, okay.
Your witness.
You have a brief.
Mr. Gaines, did you say you could or couldn't testify to the hydrology of property you weren't surveying and subdividing?
I can design this infrastructure of a subdivision I'm designing.
But does that mean you can't give an opinion on hydrology of a subdivision you haven't designed?
I would not revoke a professional engineer's opinion is what I'm saying, with my expertise.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any further questions? Okay,
That's the evidence for the respondent.
okay, thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
Hi, again, I'm Will Clayton, owner and principal engineer of Clayton Engineering, civil engineering firm in Hickory, North Carolina. I just want to touch base on a few things. Number one, the stormwater concerns, like Hannah said, this will have to go to the WPCOG for a low-density stormwater permit. They will review the plans to make sure we meet those requirements. That goes through the design after we get past this meeting. Actually, NCDEQ is the one that oversees erosion control for Caldwell County. If anything, like they said, is over an acre disturbance, it has to be permitted. If it's under an acre, it doesn't require permitting. So to require permitting, I don't know who would review those plans and then make sure they're done by that. The floodway is along the outline of the property line. No building envelopes would be down in that floodplain. If they are put down in that floodplain, that would require further permitting through no-rise certifications through the state. So if that does occur, there's another permitting process that would review those. I think that's all I've got, just kind of touching base on the comments that have been made.
So the COG review that you speak of is for the total.
Yes.
Total plan.
Yes.
And it's not lot by lot. It's
Yes.
just the total plan.
Yeah, the way we're doing this, it's just individual lots on an existing street, and there's no additional infrastructure being added. We're not pre-grading lots for pads. These will be sold individually, and that new owner would have to go through that process. So it's a low-density stormwater permit that would be required, and that would be reviewed by the Western Piedmont Council of Governments.
All right. Any other questions, gentlemen?
Mr. Dean, do you have any follow-ups to the?
I have a couple of comments to make, if I could.
Well, Mr. Mareskis, do you have any questions for this gentleman?
When you're right now.
Okay. Then if Mr. Long wants to come again to talk in rebuttal of the, I guess, the
Not exactly rebuttal,
opponents.
just a few comments. The 1,870 square foot thing was not our idea, it was the fire department. So we plan on these homes hopefully being much bigger than that, but they'll require sprinkler systems, which we have not gotten a formal bid on, but we think that's about $7,000 per house that would add to the cost, and that's very unusual, but it's the best route for us. The sprinkler system, the floodplain that we talked about, which we would not build in, is very minuscule. I mean, it's a sliver of land at the bottom that goes on down to the golf course, which I assume is a bigger floodplain. And the only, to me, to require engineering for all of those homes would be way above necessary. I can understand the special needs on lot 18, I think it's 18 through 21, they're steep and they need special work. They're just like mountain lots. But to require engineered home plans and individual drainage plans and everything for each individual lots 1 through 16 would be way above necessary, is my thought. Just any questions, comments?
Any questions, Mr. Long?
Question.
Yes.
Lots 1 through 16, did you say?
1 through 16 are the ones, 1 through 17 actually, are the ones as you come in the entrance on both sides, and then the large 17 on 321. Then 18 through 21 are the one question about the topo, and 22, I guess, maybe to some extent, but 18 through 21. But those other lots, to me, are very normal topo lots, the 1 through 16.
That go down the hill towards 321.
Yeah, but they only go to the edge of the thing. I would assume that right of way would be dedicated because they go way out in 321 somewhere from the past, but they would just go to the, I guess, the edge of that hill or somewhere right in there when it was finally recorded. But the only
When you're facing north on Hillhaven, those are the ones to the left that you're talking about.
Yes, yes. Well, and then to the right also, going back around to the right, there's 1 through 16 are on the left and the right. And then 1 through and 17 is the big one on 321. And then 18 through 21 come around and face the golf course. And 22. So.
Okay. Any other questions? Any other from the applicant? Anyone from the other side?
I just have some closing remarks, if I may.
Yes, sir.
My clients and I are not here to oppose the proposed development, but to suggest that the development be carefully planned by a professional. That means requiring an engineered site plan. This is a very, very unusual area in that it is so precipitous. All you have to do is drive by it one time and you don't forget just how steep it is and how precipitous it is. Because of that, an engineered site plan should be a requirement with special inspections by a third-party agency to submit reports that they are in compliance with those engineered site plan. And I urge you, if you're going to consider this, to make that a condition. Thank you.
Thank you. Rebuttal?
Thank you for your time. It's been a very respectful hearing. That I'd respectfully disagree. I would contend, and of course you've got your own counsel, that overlaying additional requirements beyond what the state requires in this matter is not something the statutes allow the city to do. And there are already state requirements already in place that's been testified to that would resolve the concerns that are being talked about tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council at all? Any more comments, anything from the council? We need a recommendation.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I appreciate all the evidence from all parties. Thank you very much for speaking with us tonight. I do not see a compelling reason to add any more restrictions than our staff has already recommended. I would recommend that we follow our staff's guidance at this point. And I'll wait to make a motion just so anybody else can speak, but I just don't see a compelling reason to make any more changes than are already there.
Okay. Thank you. Comments from anyone else? Or questions or discussion or whatever? Obviously, we want to, in my opinion, we want to make sure that we're doing everything we possibly can. I agree that our staff has looked at this very in-depthly. So I feel like that we, adding anything else to it at this time, I mean, we want to make sure they're doing the right thing, and I think that's going to happen in this case. But I don't know that by adding things, that we're going to make that any different at this point, unless somebody else sees something that I'm missing here.
One thing that I've taken from this is the fact that this is not an open development that's already been graded out, and sitting there just recently seeded. So if I look at the other developments that have taken place around Lenore, they don't come in and build 10 houses at one time. So if you're looking at grading on one particular area, one particular lot, then chances are the lot to the left and to the right of you are not being graded. So I've heard testimony that the North Carolina Division of Water Quality also will review these plans, just as you were saying a moment ago, not to put additional requirements on this. I don't know that we would need them.
Okay. Mayor. Yes, sir.
Just hearing Mr. Respis say that his clients were not here to oppose this development, and with that understanding, seeing the work that our staff has done, and the people are complying with every condition that has been requested of them, I again, too, do not see any reason for any more stipulations or any more study. And I would hold my vote until everyone has.
Yeah, I would agree. That was part of my questioning, because I feel like because of the staff work that's been done, and then at some point, if those areas come up, then they will be addressed. The lots that have the steepest topography will potentially have that we'll have to look at it at a later date. But under the current testimony from both sides and the information shared, I don't see a reason to do the extra overlay of additional due diligence for the applicant.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Then whenever you're ready, we'll call for a...
Mr. Mayor, if I may suggest, and this would be, of course, up to the will of the council on how to proceed, I might recommend that if it's the will of the council to approve the, I guess, the 7 staff recommendation conditions, maybe address those as one motion, and then if anyone wants to make a motion regarding Mr. Gray's recommendation for the additional conditions, those could be addressed separately. It may be that no one does want to make a motion, but if someone does, it would be considered. And then at that point, there would be a motion to approve the preliminary plat. Now, as I noted, I think in the matters I handed out, that I emailed to each of you about quasi-judicial hearings in general, if it's the will of the council to approve the preliminary plat or to deny it, in either case, there would have to be a written decision that it would be up to the council on how to proceed, either delegating to the mayor to do that written decision for or against the preliminary plat, or the council could say, we would like to review the written decision and approve the final written decision at another meeting. It can be done either way, but that's entirely up to you. So I would recommend that would be the way to do it. Address the 7 recommended conditions, then see if any of Mr. Gray's additional conditions would be up for motion and consideration, and then a vote on the preliminary plat overall.
Okay. Everyone understand that? Then I will entertain.
Or we could go forward with the motion.
Yeah. And if it's the will of the council not to consider Mr. Gray's additional conditions, if no one wants to make a motion to that effect, then you could just approve. You could potentially approve the preliminary plat as recommended with the conditions by staff.
Yeah. With the 7 conditions.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like the council agrees that those 7 conditions should be, at least those 7 should be added before approval.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do agree with that.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the 7 conditions as presented by staff.
Is To approve the,
to approve those conditions as submitted by staff.
okay.
That was our first
Heard a
step.
motion from Councilmember Beal to approve the 7 conditions as presented by staff to the plat, as preliminary plat as presented. No other questions. I will call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That stands unanimous, okay? Thank you very much.
And then I think there would then be a question of whether anyone wants to make a motion regarding the 2 recommended, 2 additional conditions that Mr. Gray, on behalf of the opponent, had suggested. There could be a motion on those, or if there's no motion, there could be a motion to approve the preliminary plat entirely.
Did we hear his 2 recommendations?
As I understood them to be, it would be a recommendation that there be an engineer's site plan for each plat, including stormwater and sedimentation. And then after that, there would be a third-party testing agency to check erosion control, I think, as an initial plan, and then on a monthly basis until completion of the home. Is that
Yes.
appropriate? Okay. So those would be his 2 his recommendation for the 2 additional conditions.
Okay. Anyone want to?
Because 18 through 21 already is.
They already have a
they're
grading plan.
already including that was in that.
Yeah.
So, what stated, the others, really, we don't have that.
So effectively, if you were to add these additional conditions, as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, it would add additional conditions for 1 through 17 and 22, correct? So
But it's
that would
already added for 18 through 21.
Right.
Which, those are the most concerning
Yes, those already, yes. All right, is there any motion for that? Okay,
If there's not a motion for those, then I would recommend, if someone wants to make a motion to approve the preliminary plat with the additional conditions as already approved by council.
okay, you heard that recommendation? Need a motion?
So moved. I'll make that recommendation.
Motion from Mayor Pro Tem Thomas that we approve the preliminary plat with the 7 conditions as presented by staff. Okay, nothing else? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
Now, how does council want to proceed with the written decision? Do you want me to draft it and have the mayor sign off on it, or do you want it presented to you later for your final approval? Either way is fine. It's up to you.
I would prefer that.
Did you present it to us?
Okay, so
Yes.
try to get it to you maybe by the first meeting in March if I can. Okay,
That'd be fine.
I'll do my best to do that. I'll draft it, discuss it with the mayor and the city manager, and then it should be on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, who came for the hearing tonight. Okay, we'll move on then. Rest of our agenda for the evening. This is consent agenda items as presented. These are minutes from the city council meeting of Tuesday, February 7th, as submitted. Item B is the final offer to purchase real property for H. Lewis Price Street. This is approval of an offer for purchase of real property in the amount of $1,000 plus advertising costs by resolution following the submission of all accept bids and as submitted by Hamilton Wall for a 4-foot by 54-foot strip owned by the city of Lenore and running alongside the length of his adjacent property at 118 H. Lewis Price Street. This is North Carolina PIN number 279-8474597 and Caldwell County Tax ID number 09-8-2-30 as submitted. The legal advertisement for the notice of offer to purchase real property was published in the News Topic on February the 10th, Friday, February 10th. Recommends the city accept the final offer to purchase because the city did not receive any additional upset bids. Item C is the resolution for Lieutenant Chris Mills. This will be approval of the resolution presented to the lieutenant. Item D would be a resolution for surplus property. This is approval of resolution to declare the following police weapon and police badge of Lieutenant Chris Mills upon retirement as surplus and no longer have any additional use to the city of Lenore. This is a 6-hour P-320 pistol, serial number 58J478009, as per the North Carolina General Statutes 20-187.2, and is recommended by the Police Department. Item E is the resolution for Chief Ken Hare. Approval of the resolution presented to Chief Hare in recognition and honor of 31 years of dedicated service. Also included in that, it's not on here, but that would be for the day room that we established in his, that we've already given him for the room at the Station 3. Item F is a resolution for Kenny Story for approval of the resolution presented to Parks and Recreation Director Kenny Story in honor and recognition of 35 years of service and the naming of the ball field at Mulberry Recreation Center, which we've already done as well. So that's your items A through F. And I will open that for any discussion or motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve consent items A through F.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilmember Perkins to approve consent agenda items A through F with the addition of the two pieces to E and F as presented. All right, no other discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Next is requests and petitions of any citizens. I think we've heard a whole bunch of those tonight, so hopefully we won't have any more on that. Don't see any. Everyone looks like staff. Reports and boards of commissions we do not have tonight. Report and recommendations of the city manager, Mr. Hildebrand.
Mr. Mayor, Council, 3 items for information this evening. The Foothills Regional Airport Authority will meet on Wednesday, February 22nd at noon at the airport. I know we'll be attending something else and want to attend that meeting.
Right.
The annual City Council Planning Retreat will be held on Friday, February 24th from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Blue Ridge Energies, and that's located in their community room at 100 Cooperative Way. And lastly, we have a committee of the whole meeting on Tuesday, February 28th, 8:30 a.m., 3rd floor, City Hall. And that's all I have.
Okay. Any questions of the city manager? All right. Report and recommendation of the city attorney, Mr. Rohr.
Nothing except I understand there's a discussion for economic development for closed session.
Okay. All right, we'll look at that in just a minute on the closed session. As far as report from the mayor's office, I do have a board appointment for the Board of Adjustments. I'd like to recommend Kyle Case to be appointed to serve a term on the Board of Adjustments, which will expire in June of 2026. For the city's consideration of approval, this board appointment was announced on February 7th. Mr. Case is already, of course, a member of the planning board, and those members also serve sometimes in dual role as members of the Board of Adjustments. So I'd like to make that recommendation to you. And ask for your motion.
Make a motion that we approve Mr. Case for the position as recommended.
Okay, have a motion from Councilmember Presswood to approve Mr. Case to be appointed to the Board of Adjustments as recommended. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Let's see if the guy's name's on there. City is serving on the Board of Adjustment. Curtis Baker. Also, would just like to bring up to you, I have a discussion, we need another member to the Board of Adjustments. And Curtis Baker serves on our planning board, and I've talked with him. He has agreed to serve on the Board of Adjustments. So I'll make that to you tonight just as a recommendation. We'll bring it up in the next meeting in 2 weeks for his hopefully approval to serve on our Board of Adjustments. He's been serving on the planning board, doing a good job, and we've had a couple members that we've lost on the Board of Adjustments. We need to move. And Mr. Case is one of those, and we'll make the recommendation later on that maybe Mr. Baker would be the other one to move up to that. So, yeah, Hannah, thank you for that work with that. Had great conversations with Mr. Baker about that, and he's doing a good job on that. He came on after we lost Dr. Church there off of our planning board, so we moved him to another role. But thank you for that. Okay, any report from any of our council members concerning anything?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I'd just like to thank the council, the mayor, and city manager for the beautiful flower arrangements that were sent to my family during the death of my sister, and all the cards that I received. And I just want to say thank you guys for thinking about us. The flowers are continually being monitored and looked after by my brother, who has a green thumb. I had to move it for my relatives. But thank you again so much for the flowers.
Okay, thank you. All right,
Only other thing is just, a couple more weeks left of Black History Month, and just thank, city staff, the Parks and Rec, and a lot of partners have come together to participate in quite a few of those activities. We have the Quiz Bowl coming up and the essay contest.
That's
And of
tomorrow.
course, yes, and then the blood drive, so, always welcome to come out and just participate in some of those great events. But we've had great turnouts for the movies, and had some really neat partnerships, which has been nice within the community that have come out and made Black History Month very special, so.
Thank you for that.
When's the blood drive? If you
Blood
don't mind-
drive is
if you don't mind
next
asking.
week. Yeah, that's the last week, yeah.
February 28th?
Yes, last week.
And thanks to Joshua Harris, of course, for some great articles
Yes,
he's been doing.
great articles, great coverage.
on,
Katie's done a good job too.
Yeah, Katie, the Black History Month, we appreciate the coverage on that. It's been good, so thanks for that work. Okay, if nothing else to come before us. Yes, sir.
I do. Just to invite everybody to support Dr. Church and Councilman Kent, myself, Rotary Club, chili cook-off Thursday at 11 o'clock at the First Methodist Church. Chief is going to be one of our judges.
And I pity you, sir.
Yep.
Don't say it like that.
But we'd appreciate it. $8 per ticket. I think 9 at the door, but bring your staff and come up and eat chili with us at First Methodist Church. Thank you.
It's always very good. It's always good. There's a lot of great chilies, from the regular beef to the chicken chili. You can get whatever you like up there, so please do that if you can. That's the
23rd.
23rd. That's Thursday, the 23rd. Anything else? We got a closed session, of course, and that's pursuant to North Carolina General Statutes 143-318, subsection 11, subsection A, subsection 4. City Council will enter into closed session to discuss economic development. We don't expect any out of it. Okay, we don't expect anything out of it. All right, I need a motion to go into closed session.
Motion to go into closed session.
Have a motion from Councilmember Stevens. All in favor, please say aye. All opposed. We're in closed session.